Hey guys, in today's video we're going to talk about Yamoshi, the first goddess of Saiyans, in a full-color fan manga. Yamoshi will return, but in a different form, to help Goku and his friends save the Earth from a terrible enemy. But for Goku to find new information about Yamoshi, we will need Shenron's help again, and you will see this amazing story now. So get one bucket of popcorn and your soda, and come with me. And of course, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Well, without further ado, let's get started. In the 7th universe. Currently in the 7th universe, more precisely on the planet Namek, it was possible to see Goku, Vegeta, Whis, and Beerus appearing a few kilometers from the village that belonged to one of the elders of the Namekians. They had appeared in that village because Bulma had asked Shenron to send the Saiyans and those who were with him to the place where Yamoshi should be living. But as Shenron couldn't send everyone directly to the place where Yamoshi was, the Saiyans with Whis and Beerus were sent to the place closest to where Yamoshi should be. Vegeta said, "So, Yamoshi was on planet Namek this whole time. Of all the planets in the 7th universe, this was the last planet I thought she would be on. Even more so on a planet that was already destroyed years ago. How long has it been since she came to live on this planet?" asked the Prince of the Saiyans as he looked around and saw that he was on a mountain with his Saiyan rival and his divine allies. Goku said, "I don't know, but I know that it hasn't been long since Yamoshi has lived in Namek. After all, this planet was destroyed in the past by Frieza, and if Yamoshi had been on the planet at that time, she should have stopped Frieza," Goku said, looking at sides and seeing the terrain of the planet, including a large crystal-clear lake. Beerus spoke. "Did Shenron bring us to the right planet? Because I still can't feel the energy coming from Yamoshi. So I think Shenron just sent us to the wrong planet. Because I'm not surprised that the Dragon God has proven useless once again." Beerus spoke while looking around and sighed as he thought that the Dragon God of Desires of planet Earth was being useless once again. Vegeta said, "Now that you said that, Beerus, I'm not feeling any powerful ki around either. In fact, I am, but not to the point of being a goddess," Vegeta said when he opened his eyes, because he had closed them to feel the ki of all the beings around, and no one had the considerable power to be the goddess Yamoshi. Goku said, "Now that you said it, I can feel several key energies nearby, but none of them have a power great enough to be Yamoshi's, since she's the first Saiyan to become a goddess. But still, the power of the Namekians who live close by are not short. I don't know how they became so strong, but the Namekians near here have a very high power by normal standards." Goku said, a little surprised to feel the fighting power of the Namekians who lived near the place, and there were some who had a power quite high by the standards of the breed. Whis said, I would say that Yamoshi must have been responsible for making the Namekians more powerful, an alias Mr. Beerus. Miss Yamoshi is indeed on this planet, and Shenron did his job perfectly this time," said the angel while looking at Beerus, who just turned his face. After all, Beerus didn't like to be retorted by anyone. Beerus said, "If she's on this planet, why am I, who am a god of destruction, not able to feel her power?" asked the god of destruction while looking at his angel, who then hit his staff on the ground, causing a kind of hologram to appear, and it showed a kind of invisible dome surrounding the planet, and there were thousands of invisible layers, which prevented one from feeling the energy of Yamoshi. Whis spoke. "As you can see, around the planet there are several layers of an energy that prevents other beings from feeling the power of a certain being, and the more power someone has, the more layers are needed to hide their power. And how can you see yourself? There are thousands of layers of energy around the planet, and the main layer comes from that village, a few kilometers from here. So I would say that Yamoshi must be there. And not only that, but none of you could feel the power of the Namekians. And by the way, this is not their full power. And I should say that there are warriors in this village that could even take on Mr. Goku and Vegeta one-on-one. The Namekians would not win if you two fought seriously, but that they would be difficult to defeat, this is an undeniable fact," said the angel while looking at everyone who was in that place, and they ended up being surprised to learn that there were Namekians who could even get them worked. That showed just what Yamoshi was doing, and it was working. Goku said, "So Yamoshi really is on this planet? So let's go get her. I want to know how strong she is, and maybe she and I can face each other," said the Saiyan, excited about the possibility of facing someone so strong. Something that made everyone sigh because they knew Goku's personality very well, and that he would do everything to face Yamoshi and Vegeta, even not showing that he was also wanting to face her After all, it's not every day you have a chance to face an ancient goddess of your race. Beerus said, "So, let's go. I want to see up close who is the one who will be able to become a divinity in the past, and who even after so many years is still alive." Vegeta said as he walked towards the Namekian village, and seeing that the rest of the group began to follow the Saiyan. Goku was quite excited about his possible confrontation with Yamoshi and Vegeta as well. But unlike his rival, he was containing his excitement. Goku and his group were being led by Whis, who ended up in front of the group. After all, he was the only one who could feel Yamoshi's power, and that's why he was leading the group. Upon entering the village where Yamoshi lived, everyone felt that the energy of those warriors, which was high before, became even greater, as if they had been transformed. In reality, all Namekians already had that power, but now Goku, Vegeta, and Beerus could feel the power of those warriors, and for the first time, everyone felt for a brief moment the power of Yamoshi. And that made Goku and Vegeta widen their eyes, because that woman's power level was much higher than they expected, and that should be her base form. Goku said, "That's her power? That's as big as mine and Vegeta's. But the two of us only have that level of power when we're transformed into Super Saiyan 2. Thought the Saiyan, impressed with the power of the most powerful woman of his race, probably more powerful than him and his rival. Vegeta thought, "So that power level of the Saiyan goddess, she really is someone who deserves such a title, and her power shows that Yamoshi is not to be underestimated. I'm looking forward to meeting her," thought the Prince of Saiyans as he looked in the direction and felt Yamoshi's power. Beerus thought, "Yamoshi has an interesting power level, but I still don't feel her divine power. So she must be in her base form, and that means Yamoshi is even stronger since she is not in her divine form. Is it the Yamoshi I dreamt of in the past? I'll finally meet the Saiyan goddess who can defeat me," thought the god of destruction while remembering the past when he met Goku and Vegeta. Beerus was after the Super Saiyan god, but he didn't find him at the time. But now maybe he can find him. After walking for a few more seconds, everyone was stopped by two Namekians who started asking them questions. Suddenly, everyone's attention was drawn to a house that should belong to Yamoshi, but the small group was surprised when a part of the house exploded. A Namekian with black skin went flying and knocking down some things in the process. And with that, everyone returned to pay attention to the house, and in the smoke formed by the attack, a woman with long white hair wearing a Saiyan combat suit identical to Vegeta's came out of the smoke. And as if by magic, she disappeared and reappeared in front of the black Namekian, who tried to shoot a spear of ki towards some people, but Yamoshi ended up holding his arm and pointed it upwards, making the spear of ki rise to the sky and explode. And before the Namekian could speak or try to do something, Yamoshi landed a punch on him that sent him flying out, fainting in the process. Yamoshi said, "There are men who really don't know how to take a no. Get him out of here, please. Let the elder know that I didn't accept the black Namekian's marriage proposal. Actually, I want him to bring the elder to my house. After all, we have a special guest today, and make it quick. We can't leave the god of destruction waiting." Yamoshi spoke as she turned around and appeared in front of Beerus, holding his chin. Yamoshi surprised Beerus with her speed. Currently in the 7th universe, more precisely in a safe and secret village on the planet Namek, it was possible to see Beerus and Whis together with Goku and Vegeta. All of them were currently at Yamoshi's house. The first Saiyan who managed to transform into a divinity, Yamoshi, was sitting in a big chair along with all the other beings present. Yamoshi was sitting in the center, and next to her was a green Namekian who was the elder of that village and a longtime friend of Yamoshi. Everyone was impressed with the speed demonstrated by Yamoshi, and the most impressed were Goku and Vegeta, who hadn't ever seen Yamoshi's movement. The way she disappeared and reappeared right in front of Beerus holding his chin. Beerus had found Yamoshi daring by the way she acted with him, even knowing that Beerus was the god of destruction of the 7th universe. And Whis found that interesting, because the Saiyans already knew about the god of destruction and the other universes, which showed that Yamoshi had much more knowledge than Whis imagined, and the strength she hid was very great, perhaps even superior to the power of the god of destruction. Even though Yamoshi was in her base form, after all, she should be able to transform into Super Saiyan God just like Son Goku and Vegeta. Yamoshi spoke. "So, my dear guest, what do you want with this humble Saiyan? Because I'm sure you didn't come here just to meet me. After all, who would spend so much time looking for me in a place protected by thousands of barriers that prevent any being from feeling a fraction of my power? Any being with the exception of an angel like you, Whis." Yamoshi spoke while looking at all the beings present in the place, with Whis as his main focus. Whis said, "So, you know who we are, and you know what we are. But how exactly do you know that? Could you answer my question if you don't mind?" asked the angel while he looked at the woman who just looked to the side where the elder of that village was. Yamoshi said, "All I know is that it has nothing to do with combat or ki control. I learned that from this young man named Yuhiko and his ancestors, who ended up welcoming me in the past when I arrived on this planet injured. The great-grandfather ended up taking care on me, and I remained on this planet until today." Yamoshi spoke while looking at a Namekian friend who just sighed with the woman's carefree speech. Yuhiko said, "1,000 pardons for the way this stupid monkey acted. As you may know, Saiyans are not a very social race, and most of them are airheads who don't know how to think straight. They only know how to fight, and this idiot is a clear example of that," Yuhiko said while looking at the divine beings present, who nodded mentally with him. After all, Goku was literally everything he had said, and Vegeta just wasn't that way because he was a prince, and as such, he had learned to be polite. Vegeta spoke. "You said you arrived at this planet injured. How were you injured, and why? After recovering, did you not return to the planet of the Saiyans?" asked the Prince of the Saiyans, who faced the oldest ancestor of his race, who deserved all his respect. Yamoshi spoke. "I was injured in combat with an old flame of mine, who ended up getting jealous when I first transformed into Super Saiyan God. My old flame tried to become a Super Saiyan God, but his heart wasn't pure enough to become one. Then he was overcome with envy, and somehow my old flame ended up getting into a corrupted Super Saiyan God spirit, and he and I started fighting and our first match, I ended up defeating my old flame together with the corrupted Saiyans. But I was hurt, and I knew that the king of the time didn't like me, so I left the planet. I ended up here, and with the help of Yuhiko's ancestors, I ended up surviving. After that, I tried to return to the Saiyans planet, but it didn't work. So I started wandering around the universe. But my old flame came after me, and he and I started to fight, and almost died in that fight. But I had a seed of the gods, so I managed to survive," Yamoshi said while remembering her own past and everything she ended up living because of an old passion that betrayed her just out of envy. Vegeta spoke. "So there's a way to transform into a Super Saiyan God without using the Saiyan ritual, or without facing someone who possesses divine power?" asked the Prince of Saiyans while he looked at Yamoshi. Yamoshi said, "Yes, there is a third way to transform into a Super Saiyan God, but this transformation is called Corrupted Super Saiyan God, and to get that power it is necessary for a Saiyan to kill 1,000 Saiyans with pure heart and body, and it was like that of my old crush that ended up turning into a Super Saiyan God. He killed 1,000 Saiyans. To be precise, my old crush ended up killing 1,000 children to get that power. That's how he got the power. Luckily, you two don't have to use this method, because I felt the divine energy corrupted within you two. I would kill you. Even if you are cute, I would still have no mercy." Yamoshi spoke while looking at Goku and Vegeta in an analytical way, surprising both Saiyans with the fact that she knew they were both Saiyans, and that they could also transform into Super Saiyan God. Goku said, "How do you know that Vegeta and I are Saiyans, and how do you know that he and I managed to transform into Super Saiyan God?" Goku asked while looking at the woman in front of them, who just sighed at the level of knowledge of those two Saiyans in front of her. Yamoshi said, "I'm the first Saiyan to get the power of a divine being, and during all this time, you thought I stood still? Sorry guys, but unlike you two, I've already mastered the power of a Super Saiyan God. And I say that this Super Saiyan God form that you two must know is not even half of the true power of our God form. But when you manage to use at least the 2 stages of the Super Saiyan God, you'll be able to know who is Super Saiyan and who is not, and who has a divine power. If you can get out of the level you have," Yamoshi said, surprising everyone because everyone thought that the transformation that Goku and Vegeta possessed was already the power of Super Saiyan God, and Super Saiyan Blue could be considered an evolution of it. Beerus spoke. "Isn't the Super Saiyan God that Goku and Vegeta possess the true power of a Super Saiyan God?" asked the God of Destruction while looking at the Saiyan. Yamoshi said, "Yes, the power that these two possess is not the true power of a Super Saiyan God, because if it were, you would not have come to me. After all, the only thing that would make you look for the oldest ancestor of the Saiyans would be to find out how to stay stronger to defeat the Arcosiano named Frieza. It must be in the Arcosian's instinct to want to dominate everything. It's a good thing I killed almost all of them, or there would have been a galactic war for domination between the Arcosians years ago. Yamoshi said, while looking at the Saiyans who didn't know that Frieza had a race, yet alone that Yamoshi had faced and killed them. Whis said, "So it was you who destroyed the Arcosians, but from what I heard, there were two people, more precisely, a couple who ended up destroying the Arcosians, or most of them," said the angel while looking at Yamoshi, who was yawning at that moment. Yamoshi said, "Yes, it was me and my old flame, along with some other Saiyans. We destroyed the Arcosians, but we ended up leaving some of them alive, which was a mistake. But as the Arcosians are very difficult to reproduce, they would die soon. Now there's only one of them, and that must be Frieza. Now say what you want to know, Prince of Saiyans, because I don't like that look of yours very much," Yamoshi said as she was looking at the angel, but soon she looked at the Prince of Saiyans, who had a serious look. Vegeta spoke. "You are very strong and could have saved our race from extinction if you wanted to. So why did you let our people be enslaved and then killed by that Frieza bug?" asked the Saiyan in a furious tone, while looking at his ancestor. Yamoshi said, "Sorry, kid. I didn't do that because I really didn't want to. I knew Frieza had enslaved the Saiyans and I could stop him, but I didn't because I'm not on this planet just because I'm safe. I'm also here to prevent the damn thing I loved before from going out and destroying everything, and all the mortals and planets he sees ahead just to make me face him." Yamoshi spoke before hitting one of his hands on the table, causing the table to be destroyed. Then Yamoshi left the place, leaving everyone confused, except Yuhiko. Vegeta spoke. "What happened to her?" asked the Saiyan Prince as he looked at the Namekian Elder. Yuhiko said, "Well, I don't tell everyone about this, but you need to know that if you want to get along with Yamoshi and not end up getting killed by her," Yuhiko said while looking at the Saiyans in front of him. Currently in the 7th universe, more precisely in a village on the planet Namek, it was possible to see Beerus, Whis, Goku, and Vegeta sitting around a table that had been destroyed by the hands of Yamoshi, who had gotten angry and ended up destroying the table. At that moment, all those present were looking at the village elder, who was called Yuhiko. Everyone was wanting to know why Yamoshi had acted that way when Vegeta questioned her about why she had not tried to stop Frieza and his father from enslaving all Saiyans. Vegeta spoke. "Why did Yamoshi act like that when I asked her about why she let her race be enslaved by Frieza's worm?" asked the Prince of Saiyans while looking at the old man, who was thoughtful. Yuhiko ended up sighing. Yuhiko said, "The subject is a little delicate for Yamoshi because it makes her remember the mistakes she made and her lack of courage. I'll tell you a story," Yuhiko said, looking at all those who were present there who wanted to know the true story of Yamoshi. Yuhiko spoke. "A long time ago, even before Yamoshi got the power of a goddess, she was a student at a combat academy on the planet of Saiyans. Since at the time the power of women was considered inferior to that of men, she had to endure many things. But she showed her power and persistence in front of all the other Saiyans. Among those Saiyans, there was one that, since her birth, was designated as a low-class Saiyan. This Saiyan wanted to be as strong and important as the high-class Saiyans. His name was Hiroki. Yamoshi and Hiroki ended up becoming friends during the time they lived in the academy, and over time they ended up becoming rivals, with the same dream of showing everyone that they would not let their destinies be guided by other people, and that a woman could be as strong as a man, and that a low-class Saiyan could be as powerful as a high-class Saiyan," said the elder to the guests who were paying close attention to his words. And the smartest ones, like Whis and Vegeta, had already discovered that the former passion quoted by Yamoshi before should be this Hiroki guy. Yuhiko spoke. "With time, Yamoshi and Hiroki ended up becoming the strongest in the academy, being able to even face the princes of the Saiyans of the time. The king of that time had 2 twin sons, who had been born very strong for the normal standard, and they always stood out in the academy. But one day Hiroki ended up challenging the youngest of the princes, and using all his power, Hiroki managed to defeat him. But Hiroki ended up being very injured. Seeing that, the oldest prince, who was stronger than the younger one, tried to kill Hiroki, but Yamoshi didn't let him, and the two ended up getting into a frantic fight between them. Yamoshi ended up winning and showing everyone that Hiroki and Yamoshi weren't weak. said the old man before one of the employees arrived at the place and changed the table that was broken for a new one where another employee placed some cups of tea. Yuhiko ended up taking a sip before speaking again. Vegeta thought, I know that back then the power levels of the Saiyans wasn't that great compared to the power level of the current ones. But back then, the level of power from birth and the blood that flowed through the veins of the Saiyans defined whether they would, and they become someone important or just weak soldiers who would only serve to die on the front lines. So the fact that these two defeated two princes who were already said to be prodigies is something very surprising. But for the nobles it's a bad thing. After all, it was like giving a punch to the nobles, saying that someone inferior to them was actually superior, thought the Prince of Saiyans who had received a certain level of teaching about politics in the past when the planet of Saiyans, Hiroki and Yamoshi existed. Yuhiko said, thanks to the victory of Hiroki and Yamoshi, most of the nobles of the Saiyan planet kept an eye on them and tried to bring Yamoshi and Hiroki to their side. Many nobles tried to make Yamoshi marry their children, and at the same time happened with Hiroki, but none of them came to accept the deal with the nobles. Over the years, a large part of the Saiyan planet knew Yamoshi and Hiroki, but Yamoshi never wanted fame or anything like that. She just wanted her strength recognized by the powerful Saiyans. But Hiroki, on the other hand, wanted more fame and power. He was blinded because of this, and seeing Yamoshi, who had more fame and recognition than him, throwing it all away made him extremely angry. So much so that many times Hiroki tried to humiliate Yamoshi, who was a strong warrior, but a naive woman who did not believe when someone spoke badly of Hiroki in front of her because of Yamoshi's head. His old friend and rival would not be able to commit such atrocities that the other Saiyans spoke, said the old man in a sad tone because Yuhiko knew how much his friends had suffered at Hiroki's hands. Yuhiko said, more years passed, and with that Yamoshi and Hiroki ended up leaving the academy and became soldiers who roamed the universe in search of conquering unpopulated planets and going after people with great rewards on their heads. At that time the Saiyans were mercenaries and not conquerors, but with time Yamoshi reached the age to form a family, and Hiroki, for being the person she knew best, ended up becoming her suitor. And after a few years, they got married and had 2 children who ended up being killed during a battle between the Saiyans and the Arcosians, and that was the main reason for Yamoshi to face and almost extinguish the Arcosians, said the old man, surprising everyone by the fact that Yamoshi had already been married and had children in the past. After all, the information that everyone had was limited, and not even Whis knew much. Goku thought, now it makes sense for Yamoshi to have faced members of Frieza's race. I remember when Black said that he had killed my wife and son Goten along with everyone I loved. I felt so angry that I couldn't think of anything other than defeating Frieza, and Yamoshi must have felt in the same way. Could it be that she was able to transform into a Super Saiyan by feeling such anger, or does Yamoshi not have Super Saiyan? Asked Goku when remembering the time when he faced Zamasu, who had killed and stolen her body in the future. Yuhiko said, after the fall of the Arcosians, Yamoshi tried to return to his normal life, but some people started to say that Hiroki cheated on Yamoshi with some noble girls, and that ended her peace, and a few years later the evil Saiyans ended up appearing, and with that Yamoshi ended up becoming a goddess for the first time, and using the power she got, Yamoshi defeated all the evil Saiyans, and so the planet entered an era of peace. But Hiroki was very jealous of her, because Yamoshi had become a goddess, and he didn't. And when the second war against the evil Saiyans happened, Hiroki wanted to become a Super Saiyan God, but it didn't work out because he didn't have a pure heart. And that was obvious because the one who had caused this second war against the evil Saiyans was Hiroki. That taken by a desire of anger and envy, she ended up killing several people with a pure heart, because Hiroki thought that if he couldn't become a Super Saiyan God with a pure heart, he would corrupt his heart as much as possible, and with that he would be able to have the same power as Yamoshi. And unfortunately, Hiroki got it. Yuhiko spoke in a slightly irritated tone at the fact that so many innocents had been killed by Hiroki's dark desires. Yuhiko said, after that day, Yamoshi and Hiroki faced each other, and it was the first of many fights, because even with Yamoshi's winning, she couldn't kill Hiroki because she still loved the man and would never be able to kill him. But Hiroki wanted to kill Yamoshi anyway to prove to be superior to her, and because of that, Yuhiko spoke before being interrupted by the noise of the door being opened abruptly by Yamoshi. Yamoshi said, because of the obsessive desire that Hiroki had to kill me, he started destroying planets and killing people to get my attention and forced me to face him. Because of that, I went of search in a way to hide my power. And with the help of Yuhiko's ancestors, we managed to create these thousands of barriers to hide power. And after years of destroying civilizations, Hiroki stopped because he saw that it was no longer affecting me. But I carry every planet and person he killed as a sin on my back. I will always carry it. You wanted to know my story? So now you know. Yamoshi spoke in the corner of the room, with his back against the wall, as he looked at the floor. With that, we'll end today's video. If you want to see the continuation of this incredible story, leave a lot of likes on the video and comment, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you another day, guys!